Are we muted or are we not?
You're going tomorrow.
Welcome, everyone. For Wednesday, September 6th. Order off for the services.
We'll open up both services 6:02 this evening. We have a couple of people here who want to speak before our meeting starts. First, we have Laura Churchill, who wants to give us an update on tips.
Yeah, fun topic. You. Are you pulling it up?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm Laura Churchill.
What time?
6 to 8. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I heard you mention a lot of valley communities. Did you do the tick sweep on the mountaintop?
So
or-
I didn't do the tick sweep, but yes, we do get tick sweep results from the mountaintop. One of the hard things is that just because the ticks have it doesn't mean that people are going to get it. So it's kind of hard to know what to do with this information sometimes. And that's one of the questions I have for her, because we can see that what the ticks have matches what the people have, but it's not, there's no causal relationship depending on your health status when you get bit, how long the tick is on, depends on the level of transmission. There's lots of, there's things that we can do to prevent ticks. We can wear light colored clothing. We can check ourselves when we come in. Can actually put your clothes in the dryer for 20 minutes. Don't put them in the washer, put them first in the dryer. That'll kill the ticks. Make sure our pets have the tick repellents on them. For someone like me that's outside a lot, I go hiking and hunting. I actually spray my clothes with permethrin first, and that can reduce your transmission.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
Laura, did they ever discuss about getting back to any kind of spraying, large scale spraying like they used to do years ago?
I have not heard anything about spraying, but that's a great question. We can ask her. I don't know.
Where's the payoff, you know, with people getting sick and a huge medical costs on that end, and then spraying like they used to when we didn't have ticks because of the spraying?
I'm not sure about the spraying. I don't have any familiarity with that, but I can ask her. There are other measures. I don't know if you've heard of like little toilet paper tubes with cotton soaked with permethrin. You can put them around the edges of your lawn. The mice run through them and the ticks will be treated, and that can reduce transmission, but it's anecdotal. I don't think that we have studies on it. So,
Actually, the mice take that back to their nest and use it for nesting material.
but it's soaked with permethrin. So that's, yeah. Have you had good luck with it?
I haven't used it, I'm aware of it.
And permethrin is toxic to cats and certain animals. So it's like,
And it stays on your clothes for weeks, like
6 weeks.
at a time.
yes.
I use it all.
Well, one of the problems is, if I understand correctly, is we haven't had any below zero weather around here. And that's what used to kill a lot of the ticks. So if you don't get that week straight of 10 below zero, they're just, they survive the whole winter and then they multiply in the spring.
And there's something about wet seasons that cyclically we can look at after a wet season, the tick populations will go up. But please think about your questions, send them to me, email me, and I'll be happy to send them to her. We'll get the most out of this presentation if we can put those questions forward and she can be prepared. So, great, thank you.
Like
Thank you, Laura.
Next, we have Sean Mahoney, who is the town supervisor of Hunter, who would like to come and speak a little bit about EMS.
Good evening. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak. As we know, I'm Sean Mahoney, Town Supervisor of Hunter, tonight speaking on behalf of the Mountaintop Supervisors and Mayors. And I'm here to speak to you about Greene County Emergency Services. That includes not only Greene EMS, but the various ALS and BLS agencies which offer life-saving coverage throughout our county. As many of you are aware, the towns of Hunter, Windham, and Ashland, located on the mountaintop, bear the responsibility of providing 100% of BLS coverage for 6 towns and 2 villages. This duty encompasses roughly 50% of the entire county's geographic area. While Windham ensures ALS coverage through Windham Ambulance, the rest of us on the mountaintop are served and rely upon Greene EMS. In light of all of our critical responsibilities, I would like to bring several relevant items to your attention with the intention of starting or restarting a dialogue at the county level to guide and coordinate our efforts effectively. 1, the challenge of recruiting EMS providers. Attracting qualified EMS professionals such as EMTs and paramedics has proven exceedingly challenging. When we lose a staff member to a competing agency or more lucrative employment opportunities, it becomes a formidable task to find suitable replacements. The process of training individuals to enter this profession demands significant time and resources. Additionally, the overall difficulty of recruiting staff, especially for a stressful and demanding job with wages that often lag behind other markets, exacerbates this challenge. 2, escalating EMS budgets. In the town of Hunter, maintaining a dependable service necessitated an additional investment of $250,000 this year alone. This represents a substantial 40% increase in our town's ambulance budget, which was imperative to sustain 24/7 coverage. This allocation facilitated the inclusion of 2 additional full-time EMTs and the acquisition of a brand new ambulance. Similarly, Windham, with the support of Greene County, and other stakeholders recently invested millions of dollars in enhancing their ambulance service. It's noteworthy that Greene EMS witnessed a 10% increase in their total budget in 2023, and we anticipate absorbing an approximate 12% increase for ALS coverage in 2024. 3, managing high call volumes. During periods of heightened incident volumes, which seem to occur with increasing frequency, our countywide coverage is stretched to its limits. To manage this situation, Hunter Ambulance often deploys to Kiskatan to cover Caro and Catskill, and Wyndham Station in Caro to cover Caro and Durham. Additionally, during the winter season, our valley towns reciprocate by covering for us when our ambulances are out. Number 4, addressing prison call volume. As some of you undoubtedly know, the prison in Coxsackie generates a substantial call volume that heavily relies on Coxsackie and surrounding ambulances to respond. Consequently, Catskill and New Baltimore are frequently called upon to provide coverage for Coxsackie when the initial ambulances are out, creating a domino effect that often stretches to the western borders of the county. To address this in the short term, have we ever discussed advocating for the state to establish its own medical transport service to alleviate the burden on our local first responders in light of the high patient volume? Regarding Greene EMS, it's imperative to acknowledge their professionalism and the invaluable service that they provide to us all. We are genuinely grateful for their presence, and we appreciate Greene County's contribution of 80% of the total overall cost to support our towns and villages. Our aim, the mountaintop mayors and supervisors, is to simply collaborate with the county to monitor the effectiveness of our current approach to countywide EMS coverage. One idea that merits consideration is the possibility of Greene EMS deploying a paramedic to accompany our BLS providers instead of relying on multiple fly cars. Our BLS crews typically consist of 2 personnel in an ambulance. By using this model, we could staff each ambulance with 1 paramedic and 1 EMT driver, which would reduce the number of employees our towns must maintain, subsequently lowering overhead costs. Moreover, this approach would immediately render every ambulance ALS enabled, diminishing the need for Greene EMS to operate 5 fly cars and multiple stations around the clock. Now, I already know that this idea poses many challenges, but it also provides some clear advantages. And all we are advocating for is to evaluate the potential benefits and the drawbacks in the hopes of reducing overhead and increasing the effectiveness of the overall countywide system. It is also worth noting that certain mountaintop towns are currently in the initial phases of consolidation. Lexington, Prattsville, and Ashland have formed ambulance districts that will ultimately contribute tax dollars to support a nonprofit ambulance service serving all 3 towns. If this model proves successful, discussions among supervisors include the possibility of further consolidation, first merging with Wyndham and Jewett, and ultimately, potentially, including Hunter. While mutual aid currently exists among these towns, consolidation eliminates the need for competition in staffing, scheduling, and resource allocation, ultimately optimizing the efficiency of EMS coverage on the mountain. Now, given the idea of consolidation, is it time to once again consider a countywide ambulance model? This could put all EMS coverage under one umbrella, reduce costs to the municipalities, and increase the effectiveness of our countywide ALS and BLS providers. And finally, and I know I just said a lot, but we feel that it would be in the best interest of not only the mountaintop towns, but the entirety of Greene County, that an independent committee or task force is formed that could assess these challenges and the questions posed by myself and others tonight. The hope would be to potentially come to a determination for what the future of a more effective EMS system in Greene County could look like. Once again, that was a lot, but I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know the other supervisors can, provide their insights, but ultimately we're just trying to start a conversation. We're seeing challenges up on the mountaintop. We know that the people in the valleys are also seeing challenges. I think sometimes you just got to take a step back, look at the whole picture, and come up with a plan that might make sense for everybody.
Did you talk to Aiden, Sean?
I have not talked to him.
Because when I was on the town board, it's gotta be 10, 12 years ago, there was a similar, just what you're speaking of. And they went around town to town about, a county ambulance service.
That was my only question.
Yeah, we did.
So long.
I mean, if,
We did. I mean, Tommy,
we did
We have a book for
research,
that.
went around, they took surveys. It was a topic, it was on agendas, we spoke, and some of the towns did not want it.
Right.
we have a plan drawn up.
And I'm aware that, historically in the past, and I know Dolph was a heavy part of those conversations back when they were occurring, and I know Richie and Tommy were as well. They fell apart for whatever reason. Those times have changed. Like we're in a different era now. We just went through COVID. We have a real difficulty finding manpower in Greene County, no matter what you do. So I think it's time to reevaluate that system. Speaking of Aiden, like I understand he was added to Senator Hinchy's task force. I don't know what they've done. I don't know what has happened. I have heard nothing about it. But between all of us who represent the entirety of Greene County, we should be able to put together a task force or a committee that can look at this again, take all that data, say, this still works, this doesn't, and figure out a plan.
Sean, do we still have the study that we did?
Yeah, I'm sure we still have it, and I don't think to update it would be the same problems that we had before. We didn't have a lot of the data before. We
Right.
could search for it and compile it.
But it could be a good starting foundation.
I think now with the CAD system, we'll have a lot of the data very quickly to be able to update that same type of thing.
Right.
And I think you're right. I think that's, we knew it back then, Sean.
Yeah.
That in 2017, 2018, what was
Yeah.
that?
Well, I think
That was
Sean is
before that.
absolutely correct by saying we need an independent set of eyes to look at this. That's
Agreed.
no skin in the game from anybody in particular, former players, whatever. You hit the nail on the head when you said that.
I agree. At the end of the day, this is like data, right? So you have to look at what are the resources that we have? What are the budgets that we're all carrying, right? What are we spending on each one? And the call volume. And then how does this look like for a countywide system? And does it make sense? Do the numbers work? Do we actually reduce manpower? I don't have the answers, but I kind of understand the questions that have to be asked. And I think all of us, common sense would agree, if we can do this, we should.
The problem was, when this first came out, was that the ideas were excellent, but the amount of rigs involved in the county didn't meet what we had now. And at the time, how many rigs did we have, Dolph?
At that time, we had 21.
21, and they wanted to make it, what, 13?
We had 21 ambulances in Greene County. We figured that on average, we used 7.5 a day. So they were gonna try to man the original system with 7 ambulances, and I think that's what got most of the towns not involved.
That's the problem. We
Because
should
that's how
have
they were gonna
more,
try to work their
not
budget.
less. And the problem was at that time, the town of Hunter was in real dire straits. And we came together and we formed a new ambulance service for our town. And from that point forward, we were much more comfortable than we were when this whole thing started. And I think Dolph will tell you that we have a great ambulance service and we're always looking to improve. But that was the problem with the county, was that they wanted to lessen how many units you had in the county. When actually, if you're gonna come up with it, you should have what you have and probably more. But otherwise, as far as that whole thing went, it was a great concept. And we really missed the boat because at that time, there was $1 million grant from New York State, which we were ready to apply for and go after, which would have helped us out a lot. And because we didn't have quite as much cohesiveness, we lost out on the whole thing, but.
I think, right now it's especially sort of present. We're all about to do budgets, right? As we all know, budgets are tough. But the primary goal of all of our municipalities is protection of our people and to make sure that EMS services are available. When the budgets are skyrocketing on all levels, including the county, the towns, we don't want to have to pull the e-brake. We need to take a look at the whole picture and figure out, is this the right way? And if not, let's figure out the right way. But let's get an independent body in here, somebody with knowledge, somebody that or a group with knowledge that can lead that effort. And that's what we're asking for.
Sean, I know that question was asked at the correctional facilities about the state having their own. That conversation comes up a couple times a year.
Yeah, they have a.
Especially from
contract.
Kuzaki's standpoint.
They have a contract for transports, but not for emergency response.
But they do have emergency in there. They do have a setup for it, right?
They have a.
They have the ability to do it, but for whatever reason,
We call it rehabilitation medical unit or something.
they don't do it.
So I mean, if you listen to the scanner, okay, Kusaki gets the call, Plank Road. They're available, they may not be available. They go to Greenville. Greenville may be available, not. Then they go to Catskill. This is for transport to Albany Med or St. Peter's, wherever. And then Durham would come down if they're not available, and then they'll pull from Riverina. You listen to the scanner, it's like we're putting a lot of time in there.
The problem they're having with the prison area, I sit on a Greene EMS board, the problem they're having now is that, well, they've kind of resolved it, when they get a call, the ambulance shows up and they stage it. And then they have to wait
Pretty okay.
before they open the gate to let the ambulance in. Once they let the ambulance in, it can't leave until it has the patient. So sometimes they sit there for an hour and the ambulance comes out of service. So they stopped doing that. They told them that they were gonna wait. I believe the wait time is 20 minutes and they sit outside the gate. At that point, they leave.
Yeah.
They don't come back until the patient is ready to be transported immediately.
So you lost all that time.
So they lost a lot of time. So now they're trying to eliminate that wasted time. Because like you said, once they're out of service, somebody's backfilling all along the line.
It's a domino's fault. Now, Mike, as Mike said, we talked about this thoroughly in the past, the last couple, 2-3 years. I asked a question about state reimbursement. Could we, ask the state to financially reimburse us for a lot of these calls or?
The reimbursement goes to the BLS system.
Right, but,
And I believe it's statutory.
okay,
It's like the same low amount that Medicaid.
it's a low amount.
Yes.
It's not involved.
Yeah, but that's not the issue. The issue is our ambulance is out of service for an hour or two, maybe more. And then Greenville comes down, they're out of service, and Carroll backfills that, or Durham goes over there.
Half of Greenville's responses last month were mutilated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's shifting everything from the
Yeah.
western reaches of the county east when this happens. When we get into the winter, when the mountains are rolling and we have heavy call volume up there, it's the other way. I get it. It's a two-way street and I'm not pointing fingers at anyone, but we're stretched. We all know it. So what are we gonna do? Yeah, like Richie?
I just wanted to correct something I said before. The thing that Ashland and Prattville and Lexington are doing, we're forming districts, which we've done. The problem, the holdup has been that the people that we're using now and the people that we hope to use do not want to work for a not-for-profit. That's the holdup. It would have been formed, done, and operating by now. The problem is the state will not allow us, well, they'll allow us to form it, but they're not guaranteeing us that they're going to allow us to bill Medicare, federal agency. So the holdup that Michelle Hinchy's office has reached out and is helping us with is to try to get us over the hump to be able to form I guess you call it a municipal corporation. Once that's done, at that point, each town that participates would have for lack of a better term, a commissioner that would be involved in the day-to-day operation as far as to decide what gets bought, what gets done, what doesn't. The goal, and this goes parallel to what we're talking about here, it's kind of a trial balloon, would be the first, would be the 3 towns, and then the decision would be upon the other towns to decide if they wanted to do it. Obviously, if Wyndham having an ALS certificate becomes involved, that addresses the issue with the transporting agency having a certificate for ALS.
Is it possible that we could get some information from all the towns? Well, we have Greene EMS's budget, but what you guys are spending every year on this service and add that total up?
They don't all figure it the same, Mike. I know last time when we were talking to Catskill about this, they didn't have a separate line item for their insurance and fuel and employment costs. And it wasn't all broken down the same for every agency. I'm not
Well, I
sure
think
if you get
that's-
apples to apples, but
Yeah, I think that's critical to see if consolidation, or whether it goes to the county way or consolidation on the mountaintop. Are you providing the service and potentially keeping the cost low enough so your property owners can afford to pay for the service?
well, for me, I'm not even sure it boils down to the cost. I think it boils down to how many lives can we save. That's what I think it boils down to. And I don't think you're gonna save money in doing that.
No.
I think you need to have the same service available across the county for everyone. And have that be a reliable service that everybody has available.
So
That's exactly what happened with the town of Hunter. We had 1 ambulance. We doubled everything. We doubled our employee volume, and it came down to public health and safety.
We don't have a hospital.
And that's what we did, and that's what people pay for, and they don't mind paying for it, because when you're laying there on the floor and an ambulance is there in 10 minutes as opposed to a half hour, that's a big difference.
So as Darrell spoke about the grant, because I was heavily involved in it, you were, I think Patty was. When this all went down years ago, we went to different towns, we gave a presentation, Aiden was with us, Mr. Lawrence was with us. We did have conversations with the New York State Department of State. They had a healthcare grant in there. He says $1 million. I don't remember the exact figure. But
Harry, it was $1 million. We were the first county in New York
Right.
State that was gonna have a countywide.
wide ambulance, and they were gonna,
service,
the
and that's
state
why we
was
were
going
eligible
to,
for this $1 million grant.
right, the state was going to showcase us if we went through with it. So the money is definitely out there on the grant side to get,
That might not be there.
I don't know if it is or not, but it was back then.
They still have shared
services.
Shared services, yeah, that was it, shared
Towns,
services.
if they defaulted or not defaulted, got out of business, then it became a consortium.
And they actually came down, we had,
Savings then is meetings just
But
granted
that's
back
the
to them.
key. You would have to show a savings. I don't know that you can show a savings.
That's
at the end of the day.
The town,
You're still gonna need more than 2 ambulances from downtown. And like Sean just said, you have almost 50% of the geographical area is on the
we gotta
mountaintop.
start the dialogue.
But the people are not.
I mean, typically, we're all, Tom, Rich, and myself, we're running at least 1 ambulance each 24/7, right? Times of high call volume, we've got 2 crews on each of us. But as we all know, if you listen to the scanner, that's not enough. There's certain times where we're just beyond, but speaking on behalf of all of us, of the mountaintop towns, we're willing to show you guys what those numbers are. We're willing to be a part of the table, part of the conversation, be interviewed by someone, and, open up the hood, let you guys see what's going on.
Let's go ahead and set up a task force, Chairman.
I'm good with that. I think it's needed. I think that I've just been waiting for somebody to say, hey, let's look at this again. Because it was the decision of the towns not to do this. It was not ours.
Yeah, we wanted to go forward. The towns actually didn't want it, but we,
Well, it wasn't all the towns.
not all the towns, the
There
majority.
was just enough of them that.
Just enough of the towns that pushed it back, and we knew eventually it was gonna come back around. It just took a little longer than I personally thought it would. But here it is. Let's set up a task force and let's go forward.
Thank
I
you.
think we said 15 months ago, right?
Oh, yeah, I don't anticipate this to take 15 months. Because like I said, we have a CAD system now that records a lot of data.
And most of the work's
Things
already
we
been
can-
done by the first task force.
Yeah, we can pull reports now that would update a lot of that stuff, and it would take days rather than months. I don't think it was that heavy a lift that we had the first time. But, and then we would work toward getting a cost estimate on it.
And we're, been proactive as far as recruitment and getting, through the colleges, putting money out to get people certified. Talking with Mr. Farrell as far as getting them into the schools, and they're working with the local community college so they can offer a program so the kids can do it almost like not really a work release, but like a BOCES, and they'd go to that while hand in hand in high school, and then they could leave and they could have their certifications to
That'd be
give
great.
back to the
And
community.
actually, I looked at your program that you're offering. I mean, it's great. Don't get me wrong. What we actually need up there is someone up there teaching that course, right? We need kids, kids that are there that don't have to travel too far, that can go to the library, take the course and get it in a few months, and then we'll put them right to work.
But we're teaching the course at Carroll, at the Emergency Services Center. That's.
I know, and I think it's great. I think it's awesome. It's just, it's tougher for a kid from Prattsville to get to Carroll. Or a kid from Lexington, or even a kid from Hunter in certain cases.
They need outreach in schools.
Needs a room.
Tom, did you have something?
Yes, our also concern is also our personnel are running 24 hours or 36 hours straight. If I'm having a heart attack, I don't want someone working on me for 24 hours. So we believe that we do have a consensus, if everyone's on the same page, our personnel will be rested when they're called into service. Work like the sheriff's department, 12 on, 12 off, 2-3 days in a row, 3 days off, similar kind of rotation, because it's not healthy to have someone working 24 and 36 hours straight coverage.
But that was one of the main things that we did on the first time around, was that we said that, everybody works 24 hours a day. And they had zero benefits. They were just going after the money. And what was happening was they had no life. So they would go from Wyndham to Hunter, Cooksaki, and you would sleep whenever you could. But that was the selling point that we made to the EMS community, was you can have benefits, you can have vacation time, you can have sick time, you get paid for all this. And there was a lot of pushback from them at that time. I'm not saying it's still there, but there was pushback at the time. No, I'd rather make the $100,000 a year and pay for stuff myself. Now, so that's, maybe their mentality has changed, but that was one of the things that was the biggest concern at that time, was exactly what Tommy said. Do you want somebody showing up to save your mother and father after they've been up for 5 days? Making decisions is gonna perhaps maybe not be to their benefit.
The other problem now was if with the countywide ambulance, the guys working that need extra shift are gonna have to go outside the county to work. And that's the other thing, a lot of them, if they wanted the 12 hours, they couldn't do it within the county because they were already working there. So they were gonna have to go outside the county for the extra hours. And that was, that was another factor that a lot of them weren't interested. But that, like I said, that was it 6-7 years ago.
If it's a single agency, you're gonna have that anyway.
How much is,
If it's a single agency, you'll have that anyway.
yes, but how much of that is occurring right now?
Well, we can,
Every day.
No, where your employees are going outside and going to another county.
I
let's
have
say.
employees that work in North Dutchess.
Yeah, probably a lot of them.
They don't have to go
Yeah,
outside.
guys that come
With
from-
your ambulance associations, do they give you the numbers on the shortage of how short across the state or our capital region you are on EMS and ALS?
Sean may know that information.
It's federal, not even state. It's shortage of people getting into the industry. It's just compounding everything.
The other thing that I heard from Rich was a concern from from the last time is, or maybe this time, people not wanting to work for a non-profit. And I'm not sure, we wouldn't have much to do with how any agency is set up as a business. But I'm not inclined, at least I'm not, to start up another county agency that's gonna have county taxpayers responsible for retirements and, healthcare costs and retirement and all that sort of stuff either, so.
But the
Yeah, but you
difference
just
with
said
that is
that,
you're
you know,
already doing it with the
you're not
town.
concerned about money and because you're concerned about saving lives. You
No, no,
gotta
but the-
always be concerned about money.
But as a taxpayer, you're already paying into that. If they're working for you as a town,
I know, but this
there's
is
no
part of
difference
your-
between working with you as a town or a county because it's a municipality. So your taxpayer money is already doing it. The difference is that the taxpayer money is spread evenly against the whole county. That's the difference. You're still paying it. You're still paying it. So that's the difference between a not-for-profit, is that people worried about going from working for a municipality to nonprofit, not getting their time for retirement. Which you're paying it anyway. So you're either paying it through the county or the town.
Actually, a lot of the towns, all of the EMS personnel are part-timers and not getting any benefits.
Can you repeat that? I couldn't hear it.
I said a lot of the towns, all the EMS workers are part-timers and they are not getting any benefits.
I think that's changing as we
That
speak
could be.
drastically. I know, Hunter,
Yeah, we have 4 full-timers fully vested, in the system, and a bunch of part-time.
I got 4 slots.
And anybody who comes to town of Hunter, full-time, they get full benefits and they're in the retirement system, so it entices them. And in fact, we have quarters here for people to stay at, it's,
Same as town of
it's a good work environment.
We created 4, I know Wyndham's done this, we created 4 slots. They're regular positions, they're retirement, medical benefits, vacation, sick days, anything anybody else that works for the town in highway or buildings. EMS gets exactly the same thing once they're hired full-time. We don't
But you
hire
gotta,
anybody
you
full-time.
gotta remember, even if you're working for a municipality, like if you're a lifeguard, when you're 16 years old and you're working for North South Lake, that time all goes into your retirement.
Yeah.
So when you're working for a municipality, whether you're full-time or not, you're getting benefits.
So have you seen a benefit by offering that for recruitment?
We have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Recruitment, and these people are still working in other services though, besides your own.
So for us, it's about 50% of our full-timers are still filling shifts in other places.
So what would you say would be the amount of hours that in general, on average, that EMS and ALS and paramedics are working in a week? 70 hours?
If Ron Roush was here, he could tell you. It was astounding how much it
We
was.
had somebody who works for Greene EMS tell me this past Friday. This was Friday evening. He had already worked 110 hours
In a week.
a week. That was 5 days. That was without Saturday and Sunday.
I mean, 20 hours a day.
Well,
More
that's
than
because
20 hours a day.
they're working a 24-hour shift, and
So
if they don't get a call, they're able to catch up on sleep. That's good for me having a heart attack, but if not,
So this is a major emergency services issue. And when we looked into it years ago, continues to be today.
Population
We gotta-
leaving our county and.
we gotta set this task force.
They're not here. We all know that. You see your school populations have all dropped. The kids that
and like
potentially maybe.
Sean
going
saying,
into
we're
services.
just asking, let's open the book back up and start a dialogue
That's what
and
I'm saying.
move forward, and hopefully getting a system that works for the entire county.
I just can't believe it took this long to come back around. I thought it was gonna be, we're gonna revisit this 3-4 years ago, and I think the chairman did too. But here we are.
Well, I
It's a major
brought it
issue.
up how many years ago, asking the town supervisors and asking the ambulance chiefs to be here. Because we saw a problem then. We've been here. I've been here right along.
Let's start it.
Not anything new.
Let's go ahead and get it going.
Sean, I think that was really a good thing you brought this in front of the legislature. We should definitely move on that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, this is our resolution. Authorizing contract, Greene County with Greene County Emergency Medical Assistance, Inc.
Davis.
Davis, Blumer, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
Who's that?
Rivera.
Rivera opposed. Authorizing contract, Greene County with Greene County Emergency Medical Assistance, Inc. for the town of Halifax.
Lennon.
Lennon, Handel, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Authorizing agreement, Greene County Family Planning and P.E. Dwyer Design.
Lennon.
Lennon and Davis, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Authorizing agreement, Greene County Family Planning and Laboratory Corporation, LabCorp of America Holdings.
Davis.
Davis, Blumer, and Hobart. Sorry, no. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Approving center-based agency provider contract, preschool special education program.
Lucas.
True.
True.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Approving related service provider contract, preschool special education program.
Lennon. Lennon, too.
Lennon and Handel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Authorizing agreement, Greene County Public Health and Cleveland County Community Health Care Consortium, Community Health Needs Assessment, Community Health Improvement Plan. Hobart and Davis, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Budget amendment, Public Health and Buildings and Grounds Insurance Recovery. Hobart, Handel, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Is there anything else to come before Health Committee Services?
Motion to close.
We are adjourned.
Thanks, Sean.
Tommy.
Thank you, Tammy. I'd like to call County Resources to order at 6:45. I don't have any agenda items on for the month of September, but we do have Stella Yoon here as Executive Director from Create. Give us a brief update. I will say, yes, right up front. I will say, I don't know if anyone saw the email from Create, but kind of listed what's going on in the 3 counties they serve. I appreciate that. It was the first time we've had something like that in a while.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for having me tonight. Great to see all of you. I wanted to point out one of our Greene County-based board members is here, Adrienne Pierce. She's in the back. And feel free to ask us any questions afterwards or I guess after I present. Been busy this summer. We just had our, I guess, NISCA gives us some money to re-grant, and we had our grant ceremonies this past in August. The Greene County one, great to see Ed there, was at the Athens Riverfront as a part of Third Saturdays at the Athens Cultural Center, which is actually a program that we re-grant. And then today we kicked off a professional development workshop series. There's 6 that we're doing online for artists and creatives in our area. They're totally free. Today, a lot of them are based around marketing and kind of artists promoting themselves. Today was about writing a bio with a writer, Kate Devine, and we have one coming up around video editing and social media planning and newsletter writing, and one about finances, as that's also a big topic that people have a lot of questions about. We also just had our first fundraiser since before the pandemic days. Thanks, Sean, for coming out for that. It was a part of our special exhibit that we have on until October 1st. It's about 35 artists based in New York. Most of them are from the area. Happy to invite you to the gallery anytime. Even during the week, I'm there. So we had a preview party with Hemlock, which is a new business on Main Street. We had a lot of great support from Main Street businesses putting that together. And it was great to see some, supporters of the county council show up. And it was a really good time. We also worked with Re-Rack Gym and local muralist Jeremy Goodwin. And there's a new piece of art if you drive by on West Main Street. That was a part of our weekend. We had a mural viewing and a dance party at Avalon. So it was really great. A lot of people are excited, have been coming to the gallery. And that's kind of what's been going on. Any questions? Oh, sorry. And we have our member show coming up at the end of the year. And that should be, we're really excited to have members come show their work. So any questions?
Stella, I'd just like to say you are a breath for fresh air.
Oh, thank you.
Your report was very concise, very well written, and we haven't had anything like that in 3 or 4 years. So
Oh, wow. Thank you very
for
much.
your efforts. We really appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here.
I second what Linda says. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, very thorough.
How are you at doing in handing the funds out, like percentage wise? Are you, is it 100% handed out now, or
In terms of the state?
from the
Yes.
grant money?
Yeah.
So it's all out.
Yes. And we're
That's a
actually,
huge improvement there.
and we're actually in kind of an in-between stage right now because NISCA's moving their calendar to January, a January calendar year. And so our grant cycle is actually being pushed up for this upcoming year. We're going to be doing a lot of just like talking around that because we want to make sure that we're not missing people. And, there's just a lot of planning that goes on in terms of getting materials together, getting partners together. And yeah, we just want to see more. And also we've seen a lot of growth in demand for funding. And so, yeah, there's also opportunity for us to go back to the state and see if we can get some more money to distribute. So.
Anybody else?
I also have a copy of the strategic plan. I think if that hasn't been shared, I'm happy to circulate that around again.
If you could give that
Yeah,
to work.
give it to us. We'll
Yeah.
scan it and we'll send it out.
Absolutely.
Great,
Thank you, Stella.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else to come before county resources?
Motion to close.
We have Thornton to close, seconded.
Overbach.
Rivera seconded this. We are closed. Thank you. Okay.
Let Jimmy go first.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the Public Safety Committee to order at 6:49 PM. There's only one proposed action item, but before we get into that, we have Sheriff Kosminski with his report.
This month, we made 215 civil attempts, served 137 civil papers, issued 132 traffic tickets, investigated 30 traffic accidents, made 30 arrests and 2 DWI arrests, and we handled 372 calls for service. And we also made 167 traffic stops. On August 1st, the started jail population was 35. As of August 31st, it was down to 28, the high for the month being 35. Corrections officers did 30 transports, traveling 1,472 miles, totaling 68 hours, moving 36 inmates. We have 1 state-ready inmate in our custody. This month, we also sponsored an active shooter training at the Catskill Elementary School. This new training is called Active Attack Integrated Response, or AAIR. It's a great improvement over the way police used to train. The course involves all the emergency service components such as fire, EMS, and dispatch. I want to thank both EMS and John Farrell's office, the emergency service, for participating. It was a great drill. It also included tactical emergency casualty care, and it's designed to improve the safety and survivability of victims of an attack. Last month, myself and the undersheriff attended the Dutchess County Police Academy graduation, where my newest deputy, Daniel Cook, graduated, and he also won the top firearms award. We also have a corrections officer, Donald Stokes, starting the Corrections Academy in Saratoga County this month. And lastly, when I wrote this morning, we were processing 5 candidates, but I was advised by the superintendent, by the end of the day, we had 10 candidates for the vacant corrections officer. I don't know what happened, but
Yeah,
that's all I got.
good job.
How many vacancies do you have on that?
I believe we have 8, correct?
Good.
Well, it was great that they put out that graphic. I think that helped. Somebody made a graphic to try to.
Yeah, that was one of the CEOs, Nicole Noble, did
To
that.
recruit, staff. I think that helps. Power of social media.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it works.
You share times it backfires.
We shared it, right? Let's see.
Any questions?
What about the gun range there? Is there any?
Last I knew, we talked about that last meeting,
DEC.
and then we were waiting for a
Lauren and I
response.
are working with DEC. We're getting a lot of pushback. We're gonna schedule a meeting to go to the DEC offices. Anybody there?
Don't their NCON officers target practice too?
They probably have their own twice a year. Well, yeah, right now it's the DEC that's the whole.
Yeah, we're all ready to go, we're just waiting for the okay, I guess, to move forward.
Anything else for the sheriff?
Thank you.
And tonight from the 911 Center Emergency Service, we have James DePerna. Give the report.
I'll try not to bore you too much with too many numbers here, but for the month of August, the 911 center catted 607 EMS calls, 219 fire, 1,285 police, and another 771 other or unknown. Those are calls that units were not specifically dispatched. Maybe it was a call in the throughway, a call out for public health, mental health, social services, any of those agencies, for a total of 2,882 incidents. There were 4,107 total 911 admin and emergency calls. During the month of August, there were 41 mutual aid EMS calls and 3 fire mutual aid, and 1 dispatch of the hazmat team out to the New York State Thruway in the town of Coxsackie. It's been a few months since I've been here. I have a bunch of good news, thankfully, from the 911 center. We've recently promoted dispatcher Vallenstein, Salus, Kors, and Roush to the position of senior dispatcher. This is the first time in my career we've had a shift supervisor around the clock. It's big news for us. We're planning on sending them to APCO's center supervisor course, where they can increase all of their education on their leadership skills, their roles as a supervisor, and how that pertains to the 911 center. Our dispatcher trainee, Aniston Keff, has just completed her fire EMS training and should finish police on or about October 1st, and then she'll be ready to work the floor on her own. I have 2 more employees starting in the next 2 weeks here. One of them from the HELP program, which has really been a huge benefit to us. During our open window, we had, and don't hold me to this, somewhere between 15 and 18 candidates. That's more than double what we had sign up for the civil service test previously. When those results came back, I only had 2 people for options, and I already had hired one of them. The last one on the list, I just hired her as well. So we're going to have 14 full-time employees on the payroll by the end of September, and we haven't seen staffing that high since I was hired back in 2009. So we're really making some good headway. They're both scheduled to go out to Montour Falls for their basic dispatcher at the end of the month. But again, I can't speak any higher than I already do about the health program and how many more candidates it has put in front of us. I think the civil service test and having to wait and hoping that they're going to score high enough to be reachable has been a turnoff for a lot of people. That's a lot of the feedback that we're seeing. And it's opened up a whole new candidate pool to us. So I'm very happy and thankful that we're using that program.
Jimmy, what was your high water mark in '09?
When I got hired, we were at that 14 full-timers. I was filling a full-time position, but I was only hired per diem at that point. And it was Sean had got hired per diem as well, as long with Henry Frick, who was retired from NYPD.
You had 14. What's the low water point?
Right now, we're at 11.
Was it any lower than 11?
Thankfully, no.
Okay.
We're required by law to have 2 fully trained dispatchers on around the clock to operate as a primary answering point. Dropping below 10 when you figure in people's ability to take personal leave, it really puts you at that dancing point whether you can legally operate or not. Not without mandating people around the clock.
Right. Good news.
So, yeah.
We're actually training people to be managers.
Yeah.
Giving them that extra training. A lot of times people will get promoted just by way of life at whatever department it is. But, we don't necessarily sit them down with the additional training to allow them to be successful at that. So
they've all demonstrated for the good of the office and not for the good of myself, which is a very nice trend. They've all been digging in really hard, trying to learn the ropes, because again, they've had nobody to learn from. We haven't had that supervisor around the clock in all these years. So it's a whole new position. They're all digging in hard. It's nice. It's appreciated.
just another question for you. Should have thought this ahead of time, but it clicked with me when the supervisors were here for the EMS side. How many, roughly, how many fire companies have an automatic mutual aid plan in place?
The majority of them. I don't know. I can't tell you that answer off the top of my head.
So we have 27.
We have 27, and there's 20, probably 18 to 20, if not more.
So,
and a lot of them involving more than just one agency.
And this is the kind of point I want to make here for the legislature. What we're seeing in EMS, we're already seeing in fire. We're already seeing, I'll pick one, kind of pick on Hunter. If Hunter Fire goes out for a fire call or a structure fire, you're getting Kings Falls, Hunter,
all 4 of them, and
Catskill, the ladder trucks. 4 companies are getting filled out for a fire call because manpower is so far down. It's the same problem, just with a different entity. I think we're probably going to come up against the same walls that we're having right now with EMS. And fire has a much bigger lobby than EMS has.
The thing with that also, just to interject is on the mountaintop, I've been pushing for years to come together as, one fire company, but it's the equipment. They have to share the equipment as well. You need tankers, you need pumpers, and they all don't have it. So, when you call for Waynesville and you gotta go over there, you need a tanker, you need a pumper. So it's gotta come from somewhere. So that's also down, but it's a lack of equipment as well.
I'd like to speak on that if you guys don't mind. So those of you who don't know me personally, I'm also the chief of the Freehold Fire Company. We actually just had to update our automatic mutual aid program. For us, for a structure fire in our district is the Freehold Fire Department, the Greenville Fire Department, and East Durham. When we had our ISO review, they came in and realized that a significant portion of our district, everything east of County Route 41, their insurance, those homeowners insurance companies did not recognize those people as having any type of fire coverage because we were more than 5 road miles from their house and there's no municipal water system in our fire district. So we were able to split the district with the CAD system. Anything east of Route 41 now is us, Greenville, and Earlton Fire Company. And because Earlton has an engine and a tanker, on our response plans, they're traveling with more than 4,000 gallons of water. They're within 5 miles of those residents. Now those people have fire coverage acknowledged by their insurance company. So that's a huge point, is not only do you have the resources, but you have them within a specific amount of road miles to count, because your homeowner's insurance is going to be affected by it.
Now, when you come down on the Carroll border, down by the old Pine Springs, everything like that, you call Carroll over mutual aid too.
So they're secondary, they're not right off the bat for us, but we do call Carroll if there's a fire.
Yeah,
they're
I mean, it only makes sense because now you're right on the border,
Yeah.
you know? Even going down 67 down.
We'll pull them up from Carroll. I've pulled them down from Westerlo. The unfortunate is none of us have enough hands.
Yeah.
I have not heard any feedback at all, whether the state's tax credit, reduction in assessments made any difference in volunteer numbers. I haven't seen it, but I haven't heard from anybody whether it increased the number of volunteers with that or not.
I can ask for a warranty applications. Increase.
Well, he would have only had 1 year, so I'm not sure. It would know.
Most of those people don't do it for the money, it's just a bonus. So I can't imagine it really incentivize somebody to go to 13 weeks of training for, you know what I mean? You're not in it for the money, you're in it for the community.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Okay, I got a proposed action item. Budget amendment for insurance recovery for the Greene County Sheriff. Handled. I get a second. Martinez. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carry. Anything else to come before public safety?
Motion closed. Run and handle.
Run and handle. We'll close.